Welcome, researchers, to the Arcanic Archives. I'm, of course, the Archivist, and today we are here to showcase actually my first love before Kano. Before getting into Kano at all, I was an assassin player, and specifically Arakni Solitary Confinement was my favorite. When this was spoiled in, much earlier this year before Outside was released, I was like, this is the thing. This is the thing that's going to make Assassin good. I don't even know what Stealth does. We didn't know what Stealth did at that point. But I see Go again on an Assassin card, and I am happy. And it turns out Stealth doesn't do anything. It's a empty keyword, but cards referring to Stealth is what makes it powerful. And there's plenty of things that refer to Stealth in our deck, let me tell you. So I believe Arakni Solitary Confinement works best in a hyper-aggressive redline deck. We are playing 31 reds, and this is because we just want to go fast, hit hard, cheese in some Bloodrots and some other nasty on-hits, and take the opponent down before they even knew what hit them. If Arachni Huntsman, Contract Arachni, is the cold calculating assassin who stalks his target, systematically completes contracts, cashes in his silvers to buy new equipment, hits those paydays, in service of taking down, the Emperor. This Arachni is the ruthless killer who doesn't care about collateral damage. He will cut down anyone and anything that stands in his way. And that's perfectly embodied by our redline deck. So equipment, Crown of Providence is a good card. We don't really care about Mask of Perdition. We're not playing the long game here. So this is just best in class. I don't have this in paper, so I play Arcanite Skullcap. That's down here. For Crown of Providence, the hand filtering is very good. Flick Knives is one of the reasons to play the Assassin class, if you're curious about it at all. It's so much fun. It represents inevitable damage, cheese and dagger on hits, and it's just generally excellent. You never want to end a game while still having daggers in hand, so throw them early, throw them often, and re-equip them with our good friend Concealed Blade. We only have 4 blues in the deck, and Concealed Blade definitely earns its place as a full set in Blitz. Then we have Redback Shroud. This will help us discount our important attack reactions. Most of them, well, we have plenty that cost 0, like Razor's Edge, but also plenty that cost 1, like Razor Reflex and Spike with Bloodrot. And with as fast as we're trying to go, even just doing this once, you shouldn't plan on recurring it. In this deck, we don't have all that many contracts. But even just the one Redback Shroud activation can turn the tide occasionally. Then we have Snapdragon Scalers. I like this more than Black Tech Whisperers. We have so many generics that we don't mind using this on. Like, you can play Enlightened Strike for +2 power or with the draw, and then break Snapdragons and give it Go again. If we draw a whole bunch of stealth cards, we can use this on one of them, and we don't care about it hitting. So I just think in a deck like this, we want the consistency that Snapdragons affords us. Then we have Nerve Scalpel, Spider's Bite, Orbido Class, and Scale Peeler. We have one of each dagger. A good assassin brings tools for every situation. Moving on to some other main deck cards, we have 12 stealth attacks. Highlights are Infiltrate, just because occasionally, we can play the opponent's cards to great effect, as you'll see later. We also have Backstab. This is a great one to have in hand when we have, Plunder Run, Razor's Edge. Just stack a whole bunch of reactions on this that the opponent can't do anything about. Or, even if you don't have reactions, people tend to overblock this because, you can't react to it. And then you can just play all your reactions on the next one and get them. We have red and blue Infects. We have 1 red Isolate, 1 red Wither, and 2 red Prowls. Prowl is excellent for Arachni as a turn opener, help you hit your breakpoints. Non-stealth cards, let's see. We have some good all-around generic attacks like Ravenous Rabble, Scar for a Scar, Enlightened Strike. All of these are good, and you can also use Snapdragon Scalers and Razor Reflex on them. Other generics, Snatch is just excellent. Good breakpoint attack that we can interact with some of our reactions. We have 1 Hurl. I'm not super high on Hurl because mostly I'm throwing my daggers with Flick Knives. I might turn this into another Isolate in future iterations of the deck. We have 1 Death Touch that we can grab back from the graveyard with Codex of Frailty, which is pretty good. It's also our only popper. And so non-attacks and reactions, let's see. So we have Plunder Run. This is great on our go wide turns where we can play 2 or 3 attacks. Also contributes to buffing power if you get it in Arsenal. We have Razor Reflex, Razor's Edge, Spike with Bloodrot, Yellow Shred, and Sprinting Plague, and the aforementioned Concealed Blades as our attack reactions, and we're running 2 Sink Belows as defense reactions, just as a hedge against primarily Guardians and Brutes, decks that can push a lot of damage where we can only defend with, in some cases, just this. What else? Codex of Frailty is a bonkers card. We already mentioned it a little bit. You can use it to rebuy, like Snatch, Leave No Witnesses, Death Touch from your graveyard, and have a killer turn ender with this. And yeah, in the sideboard, we have 1 Oasis Respite, just for Wizards, and I like this for Warriors also for Rosetta Thorn Runeblades. We have 2 Arcane Barrier pieces and 1 Spell Void piece. Since we have so few blues and yellows, we can't really count on having a lot to pitch, but you could run AB3 with this deck. Just swap this out for Null Rune, but I decided to try this instead. And yeah, so that is a quick overview of our Arakni deck. So we're going to see how many people we can assassinate today in Blitz, and I will see you in a little while for the wrap-up. Alright, so here we are. Arakni, Solitary Confinement versus Levia. So they've put us going first. Huh. So I guess the maybe board feature keeps the skull cap in. That's not intentional and technically makes our deck 53 cards, but we'll ignore that. So for Levia, we want Scale Peeler and Spider's Bite, and we don't really have anything else relevant. So let's try it. They put us first, probably because they're just going to try to block out and get some cards in graveyard, since they really need that to function. So we could try to cheese in some damage via Prowl, Spike with Bloodrot. We're sort of playing into their plan if we do, but why not? So we're going to Spider's Bite to start things off, pitch this blue Infect. That will leave us with a resource that we can use to spike our Prowl. See if they throw any cards in front of this. And then conveniently, we have our Death Touch to put in Arsenal. We can't play this efficiently as Uzuri can, but it's still just very good with Codex of Frailty. Okay, so they thought about blocking, decided not to. So now we'll try a Prowl. I suspect they'll put at least 1 card in front of this, maybe more. But now the card's blocked for less because of Spider's Bite, so they might be incentivized to just give us 3 attacks or something. Okay. So now we can actually kind of get them with our Spike with Bloodrot. They're going to get us with a Reckless Swing? Hopefully not. Alright, and then at this point we have nothing else to do. So this was actually a very good turn for us. Getting 3 damage, virtual 5 with our Bloodrot Pox. So now we pass. They have a Mark of the Beast, banish itself. We will Arsenal our Death Touch, very convenient. And we got a nice stealth-heavy hand for next time. It's actually a little awkward. We'd prefer one of these other stealth cards to be like a Ravenous Rabble, something with built-in Go Again. Alright, so they're kicking things off with a Bloodrush Bellow, because of course they are. So both Mark of the Beasts, we've already seen them. We'll see how much damage they can present and if we consider blocking. Okay, so the Rolling Scabs would be... I was gonna say, be hilarious. Okay, so they crack the Gambler's Gloves to save their turn. Guess it's good to get that out of the way early. Alright, Claw for 5 with Go Again. Let's be a little aggressive. What does Infiltrate mean for Levia? We banish the top card of their deck. So we could theoretically add to their blood debt. I don't know about that. So what do we want to do on our turn? We would like to probably infect... We could infect, dagger, death touch. Arsenal a stealth card. I don't think we want to clear... We could clear this with Crown, but I think we'll just block with a red back, save some health, and also open us up to the possibility of using it on Spreading Plague, but also we might just pitch Spreading Plague to a dagger. Okay, so they whiff the Bark Bone Strapping. That's pretty good for us. And then they just pass to end. So, we do have to watch out for Scowling Fleshbag. So this is the one that intimidates when they block with it. So that could screw up our turn, especially if we're planning on some Spreading Plague action. So here, I think we'd rather just threaten a Blood Rot rather than the possibility of like adding to their blood debt or something. So we'll see what they do with this. Spreading Plague is one of the best gotcha cards in the game. To punish overblocking. Alright, so they just blocked 3. I think we'll just pass. We don't really have anything to say to that. Alright. Then... They do have a lot of equipment block available, so maybe we'll send in the Scale Peeler like this. And so they just take it. So now, do we want to keep Infiltrate or Infect? We probably want to keep Infect. Alright, so we'll play out our Death Touch. 1 for 6 with an on hit, pretty good. We could also Snapdragon our Death Touch and then just play the Infect and try to go absolutely crazy. They don't block with anything. So the conservative line is to save the Infect for next turn. We could also just flick the Spider's Bite, snaps for go again, play Infect. Yeah, let's be wild and crazy. I did say in the deck tech, Arakni Solitary Confinement is the ruthless killer who doesn't care about collateral damage. So, we will take the aggressive line, flick the dagger, give the Death Touch go again. So, given their reticence to block, I am afraid of... No, Blood Rush... Okay, so there's 1 Blood Rush in Graveyard. There could be the second Blood Rush. So how about a Frailty? Then we can just Infect again. We'll see if they take it. Because we've made their blocks pretty bad since we've hit with both daggers this turn. Yeah. I always advocate flicking the daggers early because you never want to end a game having a dagger left in hand. Alright, so they just take it. Okay, so no Blood Rush, but they do Wild Ride and hit the go again. So with this hand, we can't effectively... We don't have anything for Razor's Edge. So we could... We also can't... Well, Hurl has go again. So we could block with a Leave No Witnesses and then be able to get it back with Codex of Frailty. Let's do so to save some life. And their follow-up is, ooh, the Shadowpede. Nice. I suppose I banished that earlier this turn. Maybe they didn't, and they just played it. No, they just played it from hand. I've actually never seen anyone play this card, but it's very fun that people are. So I think They can't do anything else, and they're going to be taking 2 from the Bloodrot. They have nothing to put in Arsenal, so our Leave No Witnesses is not as impactful as it could be. So I think we actually just take the Shadowpede here. So Frailty pops, Bloodrot pops. So they take 2 Blood Debt and Bloodrot. So they're at 2. Virtual 1 because of Flick Knives. So I think we hurl, don't pay. And now we'll flick the Scale Peeler as a reaction here. Okay, so won't actually, well, we will be breaking the chain. So they could, so flicking the Scale Peeler essentially denies them blocking with Scabs again, but we lose Codex of Frailty because of Scaling Fleshbag. So they kind of got us. That's the sort of cool tricks you can do with Scaling Fleshbag. Question is, do we flick? I think we do flick on the off chance that we're forced into blocking with Flick Knives, because we're going to have a 2 block in hand. So let's deal the damage while we can. Got nothing else to do. Oh, we get this back right now, so we can Arsenal, and we get Sink Below, which is pretty good. Since they have a 4-card hand, can probably threaten some damage. Ooh, so they actually whiffed on the Banish for Dread Screamer. That's key for us. We do get got by Pummel. Because of course. So let's block with... So if we block with Flick Knives, we can Sink Below, and then Red Pummel would be... So we'd be blocking 5, we'd take 3, yeah. So we'll block with Flick Knives because we're out of daggers. And then we will also block with Sink Below. I did lose to Pummel Levia playing Kano and CC, so now I'm a little suspicious, but I don't typically see Pummels from Levias I play against. So we will Sink. I think we just keep all of these, and we'll do Ravenous Rabble into E-Strike, into Codex of Frailty. So we will keep all these cards. And, well, it actually doesn't matter because they lose the Blood Debt. Yeah, I'm so used to... there's some really fantastic Levia players in my area, and I'm just really used to them hitting their banishes and never taking damage from Blood Debt. So to see even just the 4 damage from Blood Debt that we saw this game is actually sort of rare for my experience. So anyways, that was interesting. We got to not live our dream, but we got to do the thing. Play a bunch of attacks, throw both our daggers. Yeah, that was kind of fun. Let's go on to the next one. Alright, so here we are against Kassai. I hate Kassai, but it was the only game available. So we can either do Scale Peeler, Nerve Scalpel, or Orbido class Scale Peeler. It's kind of hard with Kassai. I think they play enough reactions to make Nerve Scalpel worth it. So then do we do Scale Peeler or do we do Orbido classed? I think we'll do Scale Peeler, and we can always get the Orbido classed later. Oasis is decent against Kassai, targeting one of their sabers. So we'll grab that, take out... Not really sure. Wither's very good. I guess we'll do it wrong. Okay. So they put us going first. So they have the whole Warrior Fridge thing going on. Might as well lead with... Well... No, we will do Scar for a Scar first, since we have the guaranteed go again. So they block it out, not surprising. Then we'll try Scale Peeler. I think we'll pitch Infect. We can Arsenal the Concealed Blade. We'll try Infect, though I'm not expecting this to hit. Or do you have a defense reaction? No, you just really like your cards. Interesting. Or maybe you expected a follow-up. Well, joke's on you, we don't have one. Alright, so we have an interesting stealth and reaction-heavy setup. Alright, so they did Slice and Dice. So we probably just let them hit. Because on our turn we can Wither. Like we can Wither, Spike, or Spreading Plague. Or we can Wither, Infect, and do one of those things. Well, let's pass on this one. I'd be surprised if there was no Blade Runner. There's a Blade Runner. Alright, so they activate Courage, swing for 6. So we could give them one card and block with Crown, Red back. And then maybe sink the Concealed Blade, although it could be good in forcing through the Wither to hit. Yeah, so let's block with... Oh, the Spike is probably the more responsible one to keep, but Spreading Plague is so good. It's so fun. Let's block with Spreading Plague, Crown, Shroud. We don't... Yeah, let's not sink here. Okay, no Iron Song response. We did deny them the Courage token, which could be relevant. We'll see. Alright, so I think... Let's lead with Infect. Well, they give us a Blood on our hands. So let's now flick the Peeler, since they haven't blocked with any equipment yet. And now we Wither, so we can get it up to 7. This is the matchup where we'd like more Withers. Okay, they don't block a whole lot. So let's fire the Concealed Blade and sit on our Redback Shroud. Did they have a defense reaction? They don't. So now we'll grab our Orbitoclast, save our Spike with Bloodrot, which should be pretty decent with this hand coming up. Okay. We will just take this. Do you have a Blade Runner? They have a Blade Runner. And Saber for 4. So whatever they have in Arsenal, it's got to cost 0 or they can't play it. So with this hand, we can infiltrate, go again via Snapdragons, and with Leave No Witnesses. So I think it's pretty fun to just take this hit. And they have no reactions. Great. All right. So we will lead with an Infiltrate. We could banish a Slice and Dice and theoretically buff up our daggers, although we're not really situated to take advantage of that. Okay. We could Razor's Edge this just to hit. Why not? We banish Iron Song response, which we theoretically could use if we attack with a dagger. We're not going to. Let's do the other Infiltrate. And then here we will nail them with a dagger. So they block with a bunch of equipment. So let's... Do we think they have more reactions in hand or more non-attacks? I guess it's possible that we could flick this in front of a defense reaction if they're playing Sink Below. So let's flick Orbitoclast. Let's Redback Shroud. Spike with Bloodrot. And finally, Snapdragon Scalers. Cracking a whole bunch of things right about now. So we give them a Bloodrot, banish a hit and run, which, again, could be relevant. We could dagger, hit and run, get some extra damage on an attack. We have not attacked with a weapon this turn, so we can't play it right now. But we can just do Leave No Witnesses, threaten their arsenal, see if we get them to give us a bunch of equipment. Indeed. Don't really have a reaction, so they might not sink. This doesn't do anything, unfortunately. We'd love for Leave No Witnesses to hit. Alright, so Slice and Dice. Saber. We have them in a good spot. So let's pass. Blade Runner number 3. No surprises. And then Saber for 5. So it's entirely possible they could Iron Song Response and kill us. So we probably can't, like, do anything with Razor Reflex this hand, although we could pitch Shred to dagger and then hit and run. Maybe Iron Song Response to dagger if they're not playing around it. Alright, so I think we actually block with Isolate here. Keep Flick Knight. Well, that's sort of... No, we need to pitch a Shred to the dagger. There's actually no way we can play Razor Reflexes. That we'd have to pitch the Rabble. Should actually block with the Reflex. So if they Iron Song Response, we take 6. So they are going to get a Courage, but that's fine. Alright, so they take Bloodrot damage. So I am... we have to try to play their cards since we have the opportunity, don't we? So we're going to Nerve Scalpel for 1. So they don't fall for the Iron Song Response. That's unfortunate. So we Scalpel, and then I mean honestly, like this on Isolate might be GG, but we can do Rabble first, revealing other Rabble. Very nice. Block with your equipment, please. Very nice. We got 1 equipment block out of them. So now we nail them with Nerve Scalpel. And then we hit and run. And Isolate. 6 Dominate. Oh, man. Could they get out of it if they have exactly Sink Below? They're thinking very hard. If we get the win with their own cards, I'm going to be so happy. All right, pass blocks. Iron Song Response doesn't do anything. Yeah, we got it. Yes, hit and run. Woo! It's good for assassins too. If there would be an assassin who would commit a hit and run, it would be Arakni Solitary Confinement. Let's be real. Anyways, that was very entertaining. Always happy to bring justice to Kassai. Alright, we can't escape the warriors, and we also can't win a die roll to save our lives. So now we're against Quicksilver Dorinthea, which is cool. So again, we want Oasis, especially since they are locked into the one sword. I'm not really high on Hurl in this deck. I keep taking it out. This used to be a second scar for a scar, but whatever. So we will bring Orbitoclast. This Dory is more into reactions, aren't you? Well, they're into reactions and non-attacks. Okay, so we'll do Orbitoclast Nerve Scalpel. I love the little mini-game of which daggers do I bring in against this deck? It's a fun thing that the Assassin class has available. Alright. So, same equipment setup as the Kassai we just saw. This is not the hand that we would like to be going first with. As we could just try to slam a big E-strike at the end of the turn, depending on how they block. This is an unfortunate time to see Backstab, because this is our favorite one to just pile a bunch of reactions on top of. Okay, so they're afraid of something, which is probably fair considering it's Backstab. So here we just pass. So we can dagger and then E-strike for 7, or just E-strike for 7, save, leave no witnesses, which is probably the stronger play. And either chip in a damage or force them to give us an equipment. Okay, so let's send E-strike for 7. That's the block I would have expected. They had a lot of blues, so we have nothing to say to that. So we get to save, leave no witnesses, which is pretty great. And this is also the Nutter Butters having Backstab, Spike, and Razor's Edge. So this is wonderful. So this turn we will block with Sink Below and Red Backshroud, assuming they don't have a whole lot of shenanigans. Okay, Spoils of War. I think that qualifies as a shenanigan. That's pretty good. Alright, so they Spoils of War, activate Iron Song Versus, and come in for 4, go again. So let's pass. It's entirely possible that they have reactions. This Dawnblade doesn't build up counters, so it doesn't really matter that much. I think we will just Sink Below here. We don't sink anything because this is a great hand. So we cover that up, and then they just attack again. We're going to give them the Red Backshroud because we plan on breaking it. Otherwise, we'll just take it. So we take 2, they get 2 copper, and then the Arsenal pass. That's great. So now we get to do the big Backstab, which we can make this deal 9. We'll see if they block 6 or if they don't block anything. We're going to teach them a lesson about defense reactions and how you can't play them here. Okay, so we do Red Back, which means we need to play Spike now. And then Razor's Edge for the damage. And then I think we will... Well, they have all their equipment to cover up the Leave No Witnesses with. So it's like we could flick Orbitoclast, but what's the point, really? So we essentially just deal a bunch of damage and give them a Blood Rot. It's not the best. So we could Leave No Witnesses just to get some equipment block out of them. But it's essentially for no value otherwise. Let's wait. I'll draw both Plunder Runs. That is not very good. Maybe we could Plunder Run, Infect, Leave No Witnesses, and just try to threaten them, I guess. See if they block stupidly, thinking we have a reaction. Well, we have a reaction we can't play. We could try to crown this into a playable reaction. Oh no, we can play this on the infect. Never mind. We could crown away one of the plunder runs, possibly. Oof. Okay, so they break courage. This actually is pretty nice because now they lose out on the block. But now they do glistening steel blade. So we're expecting they hit twice, right? So how do we block effectively around this? Spoiler alert, you don't. We could block... I mean, we could block 6 and like make them play 2 reactions or something. And then we have Infect, Razor's Edge, leave no witnesses left over. Let's crown away a plunder run into a prowl. That's actually fine. They did not react. That's interesting. And now here they come for 3. We could block with the infect and make them react if they want to hit. Or we can just take it. It is early. We don't really want to deny... we want to deny them counters. So if we block with this, we can plunder run, prowl, Razor's Edge, leave no witnesses. But this lets us get in another dagger attack. Or just have a 3 attack turn for the benefit of... Yeah, whatever. We're just going to take it. Do your worst. Do they have 3 playable reactions? Possibly. Okay, just 1 reaction. So they get a courage token and a counter, which is not stellar. It's a tie game, but we have a pretty good hand coming up. Alright, so we will lead out with Plunder Run. No power bonus, but we do have 3 attacks to play. Start with Prowl for the benefit of our blue infect. We will Razor's Edge whatever we can first. Zero for +3s are surprisingly effective in Flesh and Blood. Coming from Magic, where like Giant Growth is, you know, one of the OG cards, which is 1 mana for +3/+3 on a creature. You think like the corresponding card in Flesh and Blood is something like this, or something like Iron Song Response. But these are actually very good. So now we can get them. We do sort of lose out on the potential of giving them a Bloodrot, but we mostly just want to hit for Plunder Run. We will wait to... And now they have a bunch of equipment locked up early on, which is good. We will wait to flick. Okay, so we get Concealed Blade. It's actually interesting. So we can play this. We could use this to attack with a dagger, but we probably actually want to use it with Leave No Witnesses. So let's infect, and we will break Snapdragons for go again. Again, I really do think in this red line aggro build, I say red line aggro as we have a bunch of blues, we want Snapdragon rather than black deck. Okay, so now we have to think, do we Conceal Blade this for the Bloodrot and then possibly lose out on hitting with Leave No Witnesses? Okay, so we're going to flick Orbitoclast. We're going to break Snapdragon Scalers. And it's a tough call. We are getting down to the wire, so I think the Bloodrot is good enough in this case that we want to make that happen. Okay. So they have... I mean, Scale Peeler is probably more relevant. Then we can do Leave No Witnesses. No way to pump it up, but we do have the Orbido class nerf online, so they might have to give us 2 cards, depending on how much they like their arsenal. Okay, so we got some more, yeah, we got some Orbido class value. That's very nice. We're happy to see that. Don't get their arsenal, but we get 2 cards. Then we have a sort of awkward hand, but we can just, like, you know, any stealth into Snatch, throw a dagger. Okay, so this is Dawnblade for 4, courtesy of the Courage token. Okay, so they are doing Rouse the Ancients and Gore Belching, which is a funny thing that you sometimes see warrior decks do, particularly Dorinthea, Quicksilver, Prodigy for some reason. Okay. Let's pass. They have to react to give it go again. Okay, they have Blint the Quicksilver, so not blocking was good. Yay us. And then they Iron Song versus Dawnblade again. We will block with one of our stealth cards just to save on life. Yeah, so let's block with Infiltrate. Don't block with Flick Knives because we can still get value out of it. So they're going to get another Courage token. A little sad, but yeah. So they take the Bloodrot damage, which is cool. So let's... Wither is very good, but we have no way to pump it up. I guess we can Wither and see if they overblock. Well, they could just take it and die to Flick Knives. You never know. Alright, so they just block with a hit and run. They have 2 equipment block available. So let's flick Scale Peeler. So now they either have to let Snatch hit or give us 2 cards. I think that's probably right. Then we'll Snatch. We can save our one of fun of Isolate for later. Unfortunately, even if they just let... Well, they could block this a little bit, let it hit. We can't really do anything with whatever we draw. It's essentially the Ponder token in this scenario. Now they're going to learn a lesson about Scale Peeler. Yep. The dagger has hit, says old Flick Knives. This is such a fun card. I spent way too much money on it when it first came out. The price has fallen quite a bit, but it's been fun to have. And they're going to have to pry the Flick Knives out of my cold dead hands. I'm not super high on Shriek Razors. There's definitely times where it's good, but Flick Knives is it's just fun. All right, so it does hit. Do we Arsenal Isolate or Codex of Frailty? I don't actually know in this scenario. Isolate blocks more. In Codex of Frailty, we have... What's Image... Oh, is it one of the daggers? What's Image Not Found? That's scary. Let's Arsenal the Codex. Okay. So having Sink Below here is a nice hedge. I don't really care about losing one of our stealth cards. I mean, we do have Isolate Spike with Bloodrot. That is sort of GG. So we're gonna... I mean, if they have a reaction that pumps for damage... Yeah, they couldn't get over the Sink Below and kill us. They'd have to have a whole lot more power. So we're just going to take this one, see if we can deny them, like, glint the Quicksilver value or something. Okay, so do we react and give them the opportunity to glint? Probably not, because we can just isolate, spike with Bloodrot, you're dead. So we're going to take it. Yeah. So do we even... I mean, we can infect first, just to get some cards out of them. On the off chance that they have any shenanigans. I doubt they do, but I suppose you never know. So we can flick the Scalpel here just for damage. And then, of course, isolate. Don't think there's a combination of cards they could have outside of a whole bunch of Sink Belows. I could get them out of this. I mean, they do give us some equipment, but it probably doesn't matter. Oh, we could have just... I mean, I guess we could have spiked the Infect. I wasn't paying attention. But that was a good game. Decks... Matches where both decks have attack reactions, I find very enjoyable. So Warrior versus Assassin, Assassin versus Assassin, Warrior versus Warrior. It's always a good time. Anyways, I'm having loads of fun with Arakni, and we'll see what happens in the next match. So we're back with Arakni Solitary Confinement in Blitz against Briar. I think... Let's see what happens when we put them first. I'm not certain if that's correct, but also I lost 3 of 3 die rolls yesterday when I was recording, so we'll try to redeem ourselves with that. We do want our Oasis, so we could take out... I've been taking out Hurl. I'd love for that to do something, but I mean, we have Flick Knives. So, yeah. Hurl is like, you know, the 41st and 42nd card in the deck for me. Okay, and let's do it. Alright. So it's slightly unfortunate, because I'd love to, you know, hang on to Snatch and E-Strike. Hopefully they don't make us get rid of that. Alright, so they do... Oh, I also forgot about Null Rune. Oops. Well, we'll see if we pay for that. So we get to keep all of our cards, which is kind of nice. So let's start with a Backstab. We can just use Razor's Edge to push some damage, which we're going to do if they're not going to block. Especially since we didn't bring any Null Rune, we need to get this game over ASAP. Okay. So, you just take 6, that's pretty good. So now we have the option, can E-Strike for 7. We could also E-Strike draw, try to set up an arsenal. Because if we just do Snatch, they'll probably block it, and we don't really have a good follow-up if we give it go again. So, let's do the E-Strike. We'll just send it for 7, I guess. So, what all did they reveal last turn? Anthem of Spring, E-Strike, Scar for a Scar, and Coax a Commotion. Okay, so that's moderately dangerous. Do we just pitch a dagger for value? Not yet. Okay, and then they just pass, so we had nothing to do. Alright, so they lead off with E-Strike. Having Codex of Frailty and Leave No Witnesses is pretty good. So we can block, so we can sort of block freely with this, and then just get it back next turn via the Codex. So they E-Strike for 5. Again. What did we see? I'd have to check the full log. Don't remember if there was a Snatch or not. That's just what I'm afraid of. Let's pass. So we know there's going to be some kind of follow-up. 'Up. 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 ' Sad Ravenous Rabble, love to see it. We could block with Crown, and then get rid of one of these stealth cards. Let's do that. When we don't have any... See, watch us get punished. Sink, Isolate, draw Spike with Bloodrot or something. We're going to sink the Isolate. Then we get Blue Infect. So that basically translates to a free dagger attack. Now they Snatch. Alright, so we will block red back and leave no witnesses, since, as I said, we can just grab it back with Codex. Okay, so they double Snatch, which is not stellar, but I don't really want to... Don't really want to give up any of these other cards. So let's just take this. They can't really do anything with the card they get anyways. It's Ponder Token mode, if you will. Okay. So let's just lead off with this Infect. See if we get a card out of them if they're afraid of a Bloodrot. They are. So we pass. Let's attack with Spider's Bite, and then we'll nail them with the Orbitoclast, this sort of counter embodiment of Earth. Right. Their arsenal's full, but we can try to apply some pressure with Leave No Witnesses. They just give us equipment. Not surprising there. So they do get to keep all their cards, which is a little bit sad. Alright, so our Ponder shows us Spike with Bloodrot, which is a great one to slam in Arsenal, which we can actually take advantage of really, really nicely next turn. Except Scar for 9. That's a lot. Okay. So the dream here would be to just like take damage, and then we can do Prowl, Infiltrate, Break Snaps. Well, this isn't an Arsenal, so that actually doesn't work. So I think we'll give them the Death Touch. Although we probably also need to give them the Blue Infect, since a Rosetta Thorn attack... If we go down to 2, we die, since we forgot Null Rune. Let's just keep our stealth cards. Hope nothing too bad happens, although I anticipate we might have to give up our Flick Knives. So they just sad... well, it's not sad Rosetta. It still deals 2 Arcane. There's nothing they could do here. They don't have resource to, like, you know, Razor Reflex or something. I've never seen a Runeblade do that, but Rosetta Thorn is a legal target. I would respect them if they did that. You know, we deserve to lose in that case. Alright. So now we'll just lead off with Prowl. It's a great opener for Arakni Solitary Confinement. So here we will flick the Spider's Bite. It's our last opportunity to do so, probably. Do they have a reaction? I always respect reduce to Rune Chant. Okay. So we'll see if we'll either bleed them for a bunch of cards or have a good gotcha moment with this Spike in our arsenal. It's going to be right down to the wire with this one. Maybe we did just get him? Again, outside of a, you know, Sigil of Suffering or reduced to Rune Chant, we kind of got him. Okay, well, Interesting game. They should have played around the reaction, probably. We are playing Assassin. That, I don't know. I guess they were working under the assumption that they could just get us next turn, which they probably could have with arcane damage. I will not forget Null Rune again. Trust me. That was interesting. That matchup can definitely go either way. I've been flattened by Briar playing Arakni before, but also you'll have games like this where just our little bit of disruption and our sneaky reactions can get there. On to the next game. Oh heavens. Okay, so now we're against Kano. It's been a while since I've played against Kano. I've been playing too much Kano. So now we'll set up with all our arcane. We actually just have Spellfray Tiara. Okay, so we have AB2 Spell Void 1. It's not stellar, but also, you know, we want to go fast. It's a pity we can't take out this extra sink below, although I might build the deck a little differently. Wanted to keep it the same for all the games in this video, just for consistency's sake, but I've learned some lessons about what to do in this matchup. Alright, so this is Kano with Crown of Providence, which I have seen people advocate for. I've tried Arcanite Skullcap with Kano, but I always just miss Ragamuffin's Hat too badly. I guess we'll enable chat. Typically I expect hate mail when I'm playing Wizard. So, let's just lead off with the old Orbido class here. I'm thinking we keep the Codex of Frailty in Arsenal. So now we will infiltrate. It's possible we probably should have done infiltrate Orbido classed Snatch to increase our chances of drawing the Snatch. Although being able to like play an arcane spell that we banish with infiltrate would be really funny. Alright, so they have a Reverberate. So unfortunately we can't cover up all of this, so they might get to play a spell for, or they're going to get to play another spell if they have one. So we will just pay with the one resource that we have. And then get max punished because it's Sonic Boom. So here I think we're actually gonna try to cover this up just because Sonic Boom can be very scary. So we'll pitch the Codex. Okay, I guess you have to turn Spell Void on prior to that happening. First time I'm actually playing with Spell Void Tiara online, so let's turn it off. This is just vanilla damage. I don't want to use a Spell Void equipment, so it gives you the choice if it's on, so we'll just leave it on. Alright, so that was not ideal for us, but now we sort of get some free hits. Well, they give us all their equipment right now. I mean, okay, maybe not. Would have been funny. Okay, so we hit with Infiltrate. Banish a Lesson in Lava, hell yeah. Okay. Obviously, we can't. We have no wizard cards to tutor for, but it's very funny. We're gonna Snatch here because it's free value, and we still have the opportunity to play Lesson next turn if the situation allows. But getting in with an unobstructed Snatch is just great. We see the second Infiltrate, which is wonderful. So we can just slam this in Arsenal for next turn. Okay, so we can go very wide next turn if we're alive to do so. Never know with Kano. Alright, so they banish the Blazing Aether here, which in my experience is not ideal. I mean, you can do some Blazing Aether value plays if you get lucky. They banished both Blazing Aethers. That's hilarious. Okay, so we need to hope they don't... Okay, Ether Flare. So we can prevent 3 by... So we can pitch Concealed Blade and use our Spell Void here. And then we can still have a decent turn next turn. So we're going to pitch 2. We are going to use our Spell Void equipment. So we take 1, so they can Blazing for 2, and then Blazing for 2, 3. So we take 5. We still very well could be dead next turn. We will prevent 1. And do we prevent any? So we can infiltrate. I don't know. So we can infiltrate and then use redback plus pitch this to definitely get them. So we'll be at 10. They have no Blazing Ethers. So they definitely could kill us, but they also could not. I think we'll... So we'll be at 9. We'll take the damage. We'll probably just have to go all in on this infiltrate and hope they don't have it. But, you know, that's what so many Kano games boil down to is, can you put together something spicy? All right. So we have the Lesson in Lava back. That's very nice. So let's infiltrate. So they're immediately going to go for it. All right. Prognosticate for 1. We're just going to take this right now. If we absolutely must Arcane Barrier, we'd like to on like an additive spell, like Aether Flare. Okay. So here we can Enlighten, Strike, Razor, Reflex, and kill them, which is very funny. We are going to flick the Orbitoclast, mostly for value. And then we will Enlighten, Strike, bottom the Spike, buff Power. And given that they already blocked with a whole bunch of cards, there's absolutely no way they can get out of this one. We will break our red back. We will raise a reflex. And we will say GG. Take exactly 6. Show some love to our fellow Wizard players. That was interesting. I mean, they definitely could have blown us up, but they essentially gambled on us not having it because they didn't have a very good combo hand, and also their Kano activation showed them a Prognosticate, which is just 0 for 1. That's not stellar. But we also had a good setup to punish that, I think. That was a very interesting game. I really enjoyed that, and I find I enjoy the Assassin matchup when I'm playing Wizard. So it was neat to see the other side of that, Assassin versus Wizard, with me on the Assassin side. Alright, so what did we learn today after 5 games with Arakni Solitary Confinement? I'll actually say I did play 6 games. There was a second game against Briar where I got absolutely flattened, and they had me down to 2 life, and then on their turn just disappeared. Talishar does a pop-up where it's like, opponent is inactive, claim victory, and I waited like a full minute after that. I sent the "Are you there?" message in the chat, seeing if that would summon them back, because it's always really embarrassing if, you know, someone doesn't do anything for 45 seconds, you send "Are you there?" and then absolutely, as soon as you press send, you know, they do something, and it's like, oh, well, I kind of feel silly. So we did get flattened by Channel Mount Heroic Briar, but we won 5 games. That's awesome. I've only ever gone like 50-50 at an army with this deck. I think maybe there was a 3-2 somewhere in there, but it's mostly just been 50-50 in my local meta. But yeah, that was tremendously fun. We got to see a lot of cool things, and a highlight of that series of games for me was banishing via Infiltrate the Kassai player's hit and run, and then being able to do Isolate for 6 Dominate. That was so silly, and I love bringing Karmic Justice to Kassai. You can't LL soon enough. What else did we get to do that's fun? We didn't really get to do any Codex or that many like impactful Codex of Frailty shenanigans, but it's too good a card not to run. Also didn't really get to get people with Spreading Plague, although we did have some good gotcha moments with our spikes and our Razor Reflexes piling up on some of our stealth attacks. So yeah, I guess that's sort of what I expected. Like, Plunder Run did a great job, especially on the turns where we can play 3 attack actions. This is really stellar. I am happy with the times I decided to throw knives. As I alluded to in some of the games, I hate ending games with this deck still having daggers equipped, especially if you lose, because that means that you lost out on a point of damage and potentially more, considering if you have the right dagger at the right time, you can screw up your opponent's blocks with flick knives. So I hope you had as much fun as I did watching these games as I did recording them, and it would mean a lot if you could do all the YouTube stuff, like the video, subscribe, and also leave a comment. I would love to hear from you all. What is the greatest number of Bloodrot Pox tokens you've given someone with Spreading Plague? I got 4 once, and short of the Kassai hit and run moment that you saw in today's video, getting somebody for 4 Bloodrots with Spreading Plague was a highlight of my career in Flesh and Blood. So anyways, that is it for today. I have been the Archivist, and we will see you for your next research appointment.